Hello and welcome to another daily 4-minute Muppet Madness, the roundup of the latest, biggest, and best news on Manchester United of the day. So there's a lot to talk about today, so I'm going to have to speak quickly because it has been a very busy July 1st. We kind of expected this with the PSR things kind of relaxing a bit and going back to where United can spend a bit more, that things would sort out. June, a lot of focus being done on that. For many clubs, and things should get fairly busy. So let's get into our first major story, which is happened really fast. First of all, we have last night Rob Dawson with the first call that Manchester United were close to hiring Ashworth as a sporting director. They were close to reaching that settlement with Newcastle United to appoint him, and that was last night. And it seems like there were talks late into the evening over the weekend prior to get this done, potentially for Newcastle's PSR compliance position. And potentially, they wanted to wait till the very end simply because they didn't want to reveal the situation that their finances were in. They've had to sell a lot to remain compliant or even have a chance of being compliant ahead of the July 1st window. We had a few hours later, overnight for me, David Ornstein confirming that United had agreed a deal with Newcastle to appoint Dan Ashworth as their new sporting director, and just a few minutes ago, Manchester United and Newcastle United issued the following joint statement that they've reached an agreement for the immediate release of Dan Ashworth from his contractual obligations at Newcastle United, and the terms remain confidential. This is obviously a huge story, a big part of what we needed this summer to kind of kick things off properly. And obviously, it would have been nice if it had come a bit sooner. There are major talks scheduled with lots of players. Aside from just the transfers, there's talks scheduled with current players, things like that, the whole coaching staff coming in. And we're now finally really close to having a fully revitalized structure, staff, all of that. A lot of players are going to be meeting with to talk about their future, and I think it's important that Dan Ashworth is involved in that, and it could change some of the decisions that have been made so far based on his assessment of things, as he wouldn't have been able to talk to anyone yet. But anyway, big story there. Moving forward, we have Matthias de Ligt stories. I wanted to talk about this more today, and by the time you watch it, you'll have probably seen the podcast talking more detail about this. But the information I gathered that a potential deal for de Ligt was moving fairly quickly with his representatives. There was a belief from some of the discussions that had been held that the fee and wages would be more reasonable than previous reports may have indicated, so not in the 60-70 million range, but potentially that they could get him for 45-50 million euros or something like that. And that his wages would potentially not be as high as indicated. And I think that is one of the reasons that has pushed him up the list of alternatives after as well missing out on a number of targets. But this appears to be moving quickly. There was the story from Mike Verwijs, which is why I wanted to get that out as well last night, that United already proposed that contract till 2029 and in talks with Bayern Munich over this. They'll want to see that this deal has matches up to their expectations in terms of fees and costs for it to happen, that there's nothing funky kind of going on here. So that's a major story there. It was confirmed again, by ESPN as well, that they're stepping up the pursuit of that. And an important aspect of this is that they remain open to offers for Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire, two players who are due for meetings shortly to clarify their future. And that they would be interested in getting two center backs. They haven't walked away from Braithwaite, but it has not progressed as of yet. Potentially they would be selling both, selling one of those, maybe both, if they were going to be able to fund another major center back signing, but probably one. And I think that would be absolutely necessary now if they move forward with de Ligt and get that done in those talks with Bayern and it meets their expectations. Then they could still continue to look at another signing, which would ideally be still Gerard Braithwaite, who is their kind of top target in this. There's a story from Adam Crafton as well, and I think this is worth mentioning. United releasing their new kit today, and I think this is a good one to read about. The biggest kit deal with Snapdragon, the new sponsor, I should say, in the Premier League, and definitely some interesting details there announced alongside Mr. Eric Cantona. So, quite a lot has happened so far, and surely more on its way. Now, somehow, David Ornstein manages another exclusive for us, which is Manchester United working to appoint Christopher Vivell on an initial short-term basis to help with summer transfer window. 37-year-old to lend expertise around talent ID, recruitment, multi-club model, latest step to build out MUFC sporting structure. Now, this is an interesting one because he's worked in the Leipzig system before, was at Chelsea briefly but left, and some emphasis in the article itself about this multi-club experience. Now, I think that previously we discussed that United would certainly be looking into this multi-club model, some challenges this year and overcoming it, of course, in the transfer of Todibo not being able to happen. But this is something they really want to build out over time. The ability to attract talents from South America, things like that, require having good relationships and potential other pathways into United. So it could be that he comes in the short term to help with recruitment over these next window or two to get us up and running, and then moves more into an advisory role or even into an Ineos role rather than a United role. There have been other names looked at for that position, and I wonder if he will be the one going into that. So this is certainly an interesting thing that we will need to watch. I believe that'll about cover it for today. A lot of news, longer than 4 minutes, but thank you for watching. Hope you appreciate these. Hope you like these. I have a Ligt video coming out shortly, and I also will be absolutely doing a live tomorrow. So stick around and make sure to watch the podcast earlier. Thank you. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Turn notifications on. I'll see you in the next one.